Welcome to the Bite Size Brilliance podcast. I'm your host, April Darley, and today we're going to talk about cognitive distortions. And if you don't know what those are, I will clue you in. There are a lot of them, but just the word distortion should be a little clue that something's not quite right about that. So, cognitive distortions are really tricks of our brain. As you know, if you've ever heard this phrase, your ego is not your amigo, meaning it's not going to help you do the best thing for you. It's probably that little voice that says you're not good enough, you're not doing the right thing, nobody likes you. And it's those patterns of thinking that really make up cognitive distortions. Now, there are many different patterns of cognitive distortions. So I'm just going to talk about some of the most common ones that I see my clients fall into and that are more popular with society at large. So, number one is called polarized thinking. Sometimes this is also referred to as black or white thinking, but what it really is it forces you to believe that there are only two choices available to you, this or that, good or bad, right or wrong, black or white. But in reality, we have a multitude of choices. There's a whole spectrum. There's everything in between. But that brain, your ego is not your amigo, is going to tell you, nope, you don't. Your choices are extremely limited. And in fact, you only have two. And even worse than that, only one of them is right. So it puts a lot of pressure on you to choose wisely because bad things could happen if you're not right. It could lead to failure. Your survival brain is going to tell you it's going to lead to being rejected, abandoned, death. You're not going to make any money. Nobody's going to love you. You're going to die alone and all the terrible things. And this is why, if you have trouble with decision making or even perfection, you often have this cognitive distortion going on in the background. And it puts so much pressure on you to pick a choice, and that choice better be right. So the next one I see a lot is overgeneralizing. So overgeneralizing is when you use words like always or never. I always gain 5 pounds when I look at chocolate. I'm always awkward. I never wear the right things. And in reality, that's not true. You're not consistently that 100% of the time. Those are not true facts. This is what I call emotional reality. So, this is something your subconscious or your emotional brain does. And the emotional brain, your subconscious, has no logic in it. It is just emotion, creativity, intuition. So, you can create an entire distorted belief system that tells you you are universally one way and there's no exception for you. You're always awkward when that's just not true. So you have to call BS on that because it's emotional reality, not actual reality. And even though this is not a cognitive distortion, I'm going to throw one more word. So when somebody says should, so always, should, or never, when I hear someone say those three words, whatever is about to come out of your mouth afterward means that there is some inner conflict or misalignment within your three brain systems. So your survival emotion or your logic, there's disagreement there, and that's causing fear and anxiety for you that you want to reconcile. So in my practice, I do the three brain realignment technique. And that's where we dig into these inner conflicts and bring truth to that emotional reality and help you let go of anxiety and sabotages. Now, another one that I see that is really interesting is disqualifying the positive, meaning if somebody tries to give you a compliment, you will just flat out reject it. And for some people that are really extreme, is that you don't believe that there's anything good about yourself. And that makes me so sad because that is another thing that is untrue. That is a true distortion. I believe that everyone has some good in them, that they do good things, that they're very talented in some way. But when we feel so unworthy, you may not be able to even recognize it. And that is something I love to work with people on is to really let go of that faulty belief system, to let go of that distortion so that you can learn to recognize your own worth and then figure out what you want to bring to the world, which is the value. Because I guarantee you, you have value, that there is something wonderful about you that people want and need, and they're waiting for you to share. Guaranteed. And so another one, there are so many, is this is a good one, is catastrophizing. Ooh, there is a certain money archetype, a money personality that does this really well. And that archetype, they're called accumulators, and they are very good with money usually, but they always worry about not having enough. And for example, I once dated a guy who had six figures in savings, but he was every day felt like he was going to be homeless on the street and couldn't pay his bills, even though he had a very well paying job, a chunk of change in the bank for savings. He lived every day in this anxious space about money. He was almost obsessed with it. So that money archetype can go to that really harmful place and be so obsessed with safety, security, or money that it really does imbalance so many different areas of their life. It impacts your relationships, it impacts your work performance, and you have a hard time letting yourself enjoy life if you're constantly afraid it's going to end any moment. So that is a distortion. If you know that within yourself, you do want to work on that one because accumulators do have very helpful behaviors as well. They really do understand quality and value, and they can help other people understand quality and value as well. They're great at details and budgeting. But when they go to that harmful place, they really do feel it's so real for them that they're going to be living under a bridge tomorrow. And so it's that distortion. Your ego is not your amigo that's telling them they are one paycheck away from disaster. And there are a lot of people in that place. And I'm not talking about people who are struggling financially right now. These are generally people with good jobs, with good savings, with good futures, and they just can't let themselves see it or enjoy it. Catastrophizing also can show up if you are worried about an apocalypse, like the zombie apocalypse. You might be hoarding food or just preparing for things to go really wrong with the world, and not just common sense preparing, but massive preparing. Like you have a bunker, you have 5 years worth of food, you expect bad things to happen. So it can also show up that way. And my parents were these kind of people. My mom used to have this phrase of, if it weren't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Oh, you guys, that hurts my heart, that she really truly felt that way, that she expected things to be bad. And if that's the story that you tell yourself, that's the story that shapes so much of your life. And you can change that narrative. And part of the things I do with clients is to really help you understand where that story comes from, where that narrative comes from, and to look at that story, that belief system, or these thoughts and go, is this actual reality or just your emotional reality? Or is it even survival based fears? So, if you would like to learn more about that, or this all sounds good for you and you want to jump in and schedule an appointment, please do that over on my website at aprildarley.com. You can click on the booking tab, and I do offer a free 20-minute phone consultation if you just want to learn more about how three brain realignment can help you with some of these distortions. Or if you want to get started creating a better life for yourself today, let's jump in. I would love to have you as my client. I do one-to-one only at this time because I love creating personalized, customized, bespoke strategies for people in my world. And I would love to have you join me. All right, until next time, my friends, be well.